Love, exciting and new.
Hello, Hannah Waddingham here. Have you seen the fabulous new Sun Princess? World-class entertainment, exceptional dining, and the greatest pizza ever.
It's a love.
Don't miss our Come Aboard sale with up to 40% off and free room upgrades. Visit princess.com or call your travel advisor to book. Princess Cruises. Terms and restrictions apply. Offer ends 2/28/25. Ships of Bermudan and British Registry.
This is the Michael K. Show podcast.
I gotta get more K.
Listen live weekdays at 1 on 880 ESPN, the ESPN New York app, and your smart speaker.
Hola! Good afternoon. It's a Friday, 21st day of February 2025. It is indeed the Miguel K. Show. Right here on ESPN New York. But you got Grassa sitting in today for the next couple of hours. But you know what? If you want to call me Michael for the next 120 minutes, be my guest. I could care less. 800-919-3776. That is the telephone number. I get the opportunity to sit here and hang out with my buddies, my pals, Ray Deanahan, Tom Bauer, and even Anthony Pusick for the next 2 hours. So you talk about the lucky one. That is me on this afternoon. So we will have some fun. Obviously, we'll talk a lot of baseball because the reason Michael's not doing the show right now, no, he didn't quit, and he's not in another contract squabble. No, none of that. But it's the Yankees are opening up their spring training schedule this afternoon. And if you're as excited about that as I am, well, it's pretty not excited, actually. But Marcus Stroman is going to get an opportunity to throw the first pitch of the spring this afternoon. He'll probably, throw an inning or two. You get a chance to see the Bombers out there. I don't know. It's kind of like a dual home game today, right? Because they're playing the Tampa Bay Rays. And as we know, Tampa Bay will call George Steinbrenner Field home for this upcoming season. So you're going to have two teams that will use that stadium. Tampa Bay a lot longer this year. But you get your first glimpse of the Bombers this afternoon. The Mets will open up tomorrow afternoon. So baseball on the horizon. And when you wake up this morning and you're thinking about, all right, what are we going to talk about today? You figured that baseball was going to be, a part of the conversation, with the Yankees playing, Mets playing tomorrow. You got the whole thing with the MLB and ESPN and the national TV contracts, which is a point of contention, I think, for both sides. But then you find out a couple of hours ago that something that had been decades in the making, a long, long, long time coming, has officially become a thing now, and that is the fact that the Yankees have decided to retire their archaic policy of not allowing any sort of beards, excessive facial hair, so on and so forth. So congratulations to everybody that is going to be a member of the New York Yankees this year, member of the organization, future Yankees, that you can grow a beard as much as your little heart is content. Congratulations on that. And I got to be quite honest with you today, all right? I drew inspiration from the Yankees. Hal Steinbrenner, Brian Cashman. I have a little bit of, an unkempt look going on right now. Haven't had to be in front of a camera all week. So I figured, why not? Maybe get a little delinquent. It's the winter. It's disgustingly cold outside. Get as much skin protection as you can. But I was going to shave today. When I woke up, that was my full intention. I said, you know what? Clean face going into the weekend. Like I'm going on a job interview or something, right? Make a good impression. But then I heard Hal Steinbrenner, and to a lesser extent Brian Cashman, at that press conference a couple of hours ago, and they set the record straight. First of all, they gave you the 411 and the backstory of the beard, the history of the beard, how it was created, some popular looks along the way, throughout history, And it got me thinking. I'm like, you know what? If Hal Steinbrenner says it's okay for the Yankees, then it's okay for me. So guess what? I didn't shave. Still got the beard. And you know what? It's looking pretty damn good. I got to be honest with you. Now, of course, I'm not going to sport any Yankee apparel. Never have, never will. But you know what? At least I can now, when my head hits the pillow later tonight, I could say, you know what? Hal Steinbrenner gave the blessing. So now I'm going to go about my weekend better than ever. And I got to be honest with you, all kidding aside here, Yankee fans, let's talk turkey for a second, okay? This is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. And what I mean by that being just the beginning, okay, today it's the beards. Pretty soon, there's going to be alternate jerseys. Okay, mark my words. Pretty soon, There might even be a mascot running around Yankee Stadium. Because part of this, and Hal Steinbrenner could sit there and talk about, he talked to Yankees of the past, Yankees of the present, people around Major League Baseball, anybody on the street that might have a beard that he passed along the way. And, let me pick your brain for a second. The beard. What does it take in terms of maintenance, upkeep, all those different type of things? Here's the thing. All right, the Yankees also had that come to Jesus moment. Jesus, by the way, also a beard wearer. Looked pretty good, by the way. But Hal Steinbrenner looked in the mirror and he realized, you know what? Forget about the pinstripes. Forget about the prestige. Forget about the championships. And this goes along with all the lack of winning, and I'm talking winning trophies that the Yankees have done over the last 2 decades. This is just a byproduct of that. Because what the Yankees realize is that they're no different than anybody else. Okay? The Yankees have been to one World Series in the last 15 years and lost it last October, right? Tampa Bay Rays have been to one World Series in the last 15 years and lost it. And other organizations have as well, the Arizona Diamondbacks. So as far as I'm keeping score here, and probably a lot of other people in Major League Baseball that were born after the year, let's say 2005, the Yankees are no different than Tampa Bay or Arizona. So why should the Yankees have a policy in place that forbids a grown adult from actually having facial hair on their face? Right? The times have changed. It's 2025. And I say this cynically, but watching that press conference, I almost gagged on my breakfast this morning. I couldn't believe that in 2025 in the United States of America, we had an owner of a Major League Baseball team that is worth billions and billions of dollars, the team, not the individual, of course. And he's sitting there and giving a lecture about beards, like you would if you were talking to a 4-year-old. And I said, this is real. Like I took a picture of the little iPad when they were having the press conference, and you got Cashman sitting there, and Cashman's probably thinking to himself, what the hell am I doing here? How is this real? That you have to actually articulate this to society. Like you need a permission slip to have a beard. I mean, you got to be kidding me. And in case you don't know what I'm talking about, here was a little bit of Hal Steinbrenner this morning talking about, and this is the truth, guys, like this actually happened. This is not AI. This is not some work of our outstanding production staff who can, conjure up any sort of fancy audio and make it sound funny. This is legit, straight from the horse's mouth, and in this case, the horse is Hal Steinbrenner, talking about research that he has done about the beard policy.
So there was a lot of research done. What did I learn from all these conversations? This generation, the vast majority of 20s, 30s, into the 40s men in this country have beards. Our new vice president has a beard. Members of Congress have a beard. The list goes on and on and on in this country and in this world. It is a part of who these younger men are. It's a part of their character. It's a part of their persona. Do I totally relate to that? It's difficult for me. I'm an older guy who's never had a beard in his life. But it's a very important thing to them, and they feel it defines their character. It is also the norm in this country for all the reasons I just talked about.
I mean, duh. But for him to single out different people, like I said, he brought up the vice president and others who have a beard. Our Lord and Savior had a beard. Like I said, he had a beard, he had long hair and everything. And that great story with George Steinbrenner and Lou Piniella from back in the day where Lou kind of brought up Jesus. And he said, well, he had the beard, he had long hair, why can't I? And then Steinbrenner pointed to a pond out there over the outfield fence and said, if you could walk across that pond, you can have a beard. Which is funny. But in all seriousness here, I mean, what are we talking about? And that's why I said the Yankees are just like anybody else when it comes to the on-field product over the last decade and a half. You've won one World Series in the last 25 years. So all of these special rules that have been reserved for the New York Yankees specifically, they should go out the window. And I've been saying for years how stupid and just outdated this beard thing is. And if you're a 60, 70, 80-year-old Yankee fan who, believes in all this stuff still, well, you know what? I got a news for you. Welcome to 2025. This is not the way it's supposed to be anymore. It's not. It's gone out the window. Baseball, for one, is not as popular as it was when the Yankees were winning all those championships. Hence, did you see what happened between baseball and ESPN that came down in the news yesterday, which Dave and I told you was about to happen yesterday morning, but that's another story for another time. I mean, you look at certain players in baseball, Yankees included, and that's why I said this beard thing was so ridiculous for years. How many guys have tattoos all over their body? Whether it's their arms, whether it's their... I mean, you got guys on the Yankees who their entire necks are tatted up. So you could see that as plain as day. But yet if they had a little bit of hair on their cheeks, that was supposedly a cardinal sin. You couldn't do it. Like, make it make sense to me. Make it make sense. And I know that the common refrain from Yankee fans, especially those of the older generation, they like to say, well, you know what? If George was alive, this would never happen. If George was alive, they would not have gone 25 years without winning a championship. If George was alive, none of this would be happening. But George isn't alive. But, of course, anytime anything happens with the Yankees, you have to summon that refrain. What if George? So Hal was asked that question today. What would your father say about this policy? So Hal Steinbrenner was asked, we'll try it again. What would your father say about changing this policy?
Winning was the most important thing to my father. And again, I think if somebody came and told him that they were very sure that this could affect us getting the players we want to get. All we're trying to do every offseason, right, is put ourselves in the best position to get a player that we're trying to get. And if something like this would detract from that, lessen our chances, I don't know. I think he might be a little more apt to do the change that I did than people think, because it was about winning.
And that's all it should be. And I think deep down, all Yankee fans, all they care about is winning. And just like if you're a fan of any team in any sport, I don't care what it is, okay? And I don't have to point out the fact that over the last quarter century, the Yankees have one championship. Uno. Okay? Kansas City Royals have one championship in the last 25 years. The Miami freaking Marlins have a championship. Beat the Yankees, by the way, during that time period. How many of the San Francisco Giants won? The Texas Rangers have a championship during that period. See, you're no different than anybody else. So you got to get off the pedestal and the holier-than-thou thing. Get with the times. And that's where the Yankees are at right now. And can you imagine, like I would have loved, like immediately when I heard this, the first thought that popped in my mind, or one of the first thoughts that popped in my mind was, could you imagine if Juan Soto was a beard guy? Could you imagine that? Because some Yankee fans are still trying to rationalize as to why Juan Soto would want to leave the almighty Yankees and sign with the Mets. But could you imagine if he was a beard guy and wanted to have a beard and he showed up to Port St. Lucie with hair all over his face? He's not, but could you imagine if that happened? My word. So Hal Steinbrenner was asked about that. What about if players maybe wouldn't want to sign with the Yankees over the beard policy?
All of you know me well enough to know I don't like addressing hypotheticals, but I'm going to break my own rule today because this was a part of my thought process and a part of the decision that I made. If I ever found out that a player we wanted to acquire to make us better, to get us a championship, did not want to be here, and if he had the ability would not come here because of that policy, as important it is, again, to that generation, that would be very, very concerning. And, you know, I'm fairly convinced that that's a real concern, but that would be one thing.
Now, Devin Williams, remember, who's going to be your new closer this year, he showed up to camp, what was it, just last week, sporting the beard. Had one for the last handful of years when he was with the Milwaukee Brewers, and that is his right, you know? He's a grown adult. He is a big boy, makes his own decisions. He's done quite well in life to get to this point. So Brian Cashman was also at this press conference today, sitting next to Hal Steinbrenner, and they had to wake him up because all the questions were related to Hal, but when they finally gave him a nudge and asked him a question, he also weighed in on the whole policy about maybe, just maybe, there have been some players in the past reluctant to become Yankees because of the no beard policy.
I can intimately share with you that whether it's an amateur scout being in a room with a potential drafted prospect that is going to go somewhere pretty good, in terms of a draft area, and every now and then, not much, but does come up like, well, I'd prefer not to get drafted by you guys because of that policy. We brought CC here, but CC, it was a hesitancy because of the facial hair situation, because he liked to have that, and that's something when you come here and you make the choice to come here, you have to make a choice to park that. I actually had a non-roster invite discussion this spring where somebody's like, well, the agent's shared back now. He's just got to decide whether he wants to shave or not. So it's a real thing. Whether it is the ultimate end-all, be-all preventable thing, I can't say, it's an individual. We've had a lot of great people that have come here to put that uniform on and ultimately comply. And everybody here is willing to comply. That's the great thing about they understand. They have a platform to share and discuss. But then even in today's iteration of our locker room, people would express, it's not what I want. It's not my preference, but I will honor the rules of the land.
So I mean, Cash is going to sit there and use an example of a non-roster invitee who probably had about an 8% chance of even making the club out of spring training. Hence, he's a non-roster invitee. I mean, you got to do better than that. And the thing with CC Sabathia, look, God loves CC. God bless him. He was a great Yankee. Actually helped you win your only championship in the last 25 years. Ultimately, at the end of the day, a couple $100 million won out. And he gladly went to the pharmacy, bought the old Gillette razor, and then shaved off the beard. If the Yankees really and truly were different and changed and were committed to change, you know what I thought they should have did today? I thought that Cashman and Hal should have showed up to the press conference in fake beards. I thought that would have put it over the top. Like, show me you have a sense of humor. Show up in, like, ZZ Top beards. That would have been hilarious. And kind of maybe relax things a little bit, that you're not this buttoned-up organization. Because if you want to still harken back to that the only thing that should matter is winning, and that it does matter, and that all that's what George cared about was winning, if you really and truly believe that, then you know what? That's what the fans care about. All this stuff is secondary. It's about winning. And the Yankees had this realization, and it took them a long while, and you heard Hal say that he had to talk to a lot of people in baseball, out of baseball, that at the end of the day, they're no different than anybody else because they haven't done enough winning. 800-919-3776. This is going to be a fun one today, I could tell. I think we struck a chord today. So let's see what you guys think. We will start it off with Dave in the car phone, who's first up here on ESPN New York. Dave, good afternoon. How are you?
Hey, good afternoon. How are you? Maybe it's because of my age. I'm 62.
God bless you, Dave.
I'm definitely against the whole thing with the beard thing. They should have asked Hal Steinbrenner in the last 15 years if you're so into winning, you haven't won. Okay, if your dad was around, neither would Huico wouldn't be there, Cashman wouldn't be there, Boone wouldn't be there. That's what makes us different. The problem is we're not winning. That's the problem. So I want to be different. Everybody all over the world sees that emblem on the baseball hat. We're the most known franchise in all sports anywhere. I don't care if you're in Siberia. It doesn't make no difference. I don't want the beards. No, keep it like you. If you want to play Can You Imagine, I can play Can You Imagine too. Can you imagine if George was still here? They would have been winning. And he wouldn't be going for this beard thing. I don't care if Guerrero had a beard, he wouldn't want him. That's it. Shave it or come. Johnny Damon shaved it. So did CC Sabathia. The problem is they've won one, and the San Francisco Giants has won 3. The Red Sox have won 3. Forget about these other teams you're talking about that they hardly ever win. They won 1. We're not winning. That's the problem.
No, but Dave, you make my point. That's the difference. You really are not different than any of these other clubs. And I thank you for the phone call. And look, I appreciate your thoughts. Like you said, you're of the older generation. You're 62 years old. You're a good Yankee fan. But the bottom line is the Yankees aren't any different. They're not. Think about the joke of an organization that the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim have become. Right? They've had at one time or another the 2 best players of this generation on the roster at the same time, and they couldn't win with them. They have a World Series victory in the last 25 years. Same as the Yankees. Now, Artie Moreno didn't own the team back in 2002, but you know what they won? They won that World Series. And if you ask me, this stupid rule with the beard thing, this should have been retired years ago. Not today, years ago. Raul is calling from Hasbrook. He is up next here on ESPN New York. Raul, good afternoon. How are you?
How are you? Dan Greco, good afternoon. You are so good at what you do.
Nah, Raul, you can't try to butter me up today. It's not going to work. I don't believe you.
Yeah.
Not for a second.
Yeah. I was thinking about this, and I'm okay with the beer as long as we win a World Series to get the draft over with. But my question to you is, and I was thinking about it, did it come from players? Did the front office hearing it from players and ex-players, or did they change it because it was an organization thing? They thought it was time. I was thinking about that. I just want to hear your thoughts. Thanks for taking my call, man.
Well, if Raul, look, I think they kind of alluded to the fact in the press conference that, they talked to players, and I'm sure that the guy who has the captaincy and probably has the most cachet in that clubhouse, and of course we're talking about Aaron Judge, of course his opinion was asked about this whole thing, and I guarantee you he probably said, yeah, you know what, maybe it's time to kind of give it a rest. Maybe, just maybe. Maybe. And you know what? If the captain speaks up, well, that counts for something. It will be curious to see, though, and not that you should lose sleep over it at all if you're a fan. Now that this policy has been relaxed, how many guys currently on this roster now maybe start sporting the beards? Like Devin Williams, I'm sure, going to grow the beard back. Paul Goldschmidt's been a beard guy, at different points of his career. But it doesn't matter. Like I said, if you're a Yankee fan, you can have 9 guys out on that field on any given day that all look like the second coming of a ZZ Top cover band. But you want them to win games. And if they're going out there and they're in first place in the East and they got the best record in the American League, that's all you should care about. Winning is the most important thing. This whole thing is a diversion, if you ask me. It's a diversion for the fact that they only have one World Series in 25 years. Let's say hi to Walter, who's in the financial district. He's up next. Walter, do you have any stock tips for us today?
Hey, I'm so excited about this facial hair thing. It's ridiculous. It's hilarious. The bearded Yankees. Come on down. I wanted to call and this is the legendary Dan Grosso. I'm so excited to talk to you. I want to talk about the Steve Cohen's comments about how people he wants more people to come to the ballpark, and I'm just like, for me, I'm legally blind. I can't see well, so I prefer to watch it on TV and get that perspective because I'm actually able to see the players. So that's kind of like the interesting perspective that I'm coming from in that situation. I want to be able to go to the ball games and enjoy it. Like at NBA games, they have an interactive thing for blind people now where you can feel like them doing things on these.
So Walter, let me ask you a question. So just to clarify, so what you're saying is that, and like you said, you're blind. Going to games is a better experience for you than trying to experience baseball when you're not at the ballpark.
No. I would love to be able to go to a game and enjoy it if it's like more interactive for me. Like that's also why I like some minor league games. They have other stuff going on during the game and everything. But like going to a major league ballpark and trying to focus on a game that I'm so interested in, I feel like I would have to sit there and listen to it on with a headphone in and like listen to the radio. But it's so delayed at that point. I'm like yelling, yeah. Well, when it's the next player up at bat and they strike out. It's like it's a little bit of a confusing issue there at times.
Yeah, look, I hear what you're saying, Walter, and thanks a lot for the phone call. I appreciate you chiming in. We've been talking about that whole thing the last couple of days. The Steve Cohen comments about going to games and why don't fans go to the games more. It's a little off the beaten path of what we were talking about here. But look, my belief has always been whatever organization, team, sport you're talking about, I don't believe it's fair to get inside people's pockets. I don't. Okay? If you want to go to games, God bless you. You don't want to go to games, that's cool too. If you have the means to go to games, and by the way, the costs just keep going up and up and up and up, that's great. If you don't, also okay. But a guy who is worth billions upon billions of dollars, and most owners, and I would say, the overwhelming majority of owners, of course, of these teams are very well off financially, some more so than others. They should not be lecturing fans as to how they should go about using whatever disposable income they may or may not have. That's the bottom line. 800-919-3776. All right, good start to the show. We're sticking around till 3 o'clock because that's what the contract says. A lot more of this. We'll get into the Knicks as well from last night. We'll get into other baseball matters, too. It's Grassa sitting in for Michael right here. It's Friday. It's ESPN New York.
As the number and severity of third-party breaches continue to rise, companies are increasingly vigilant, not just about how they handle their own data, but how their vendors do as well. For security and compliance leaders, this means more security reviews are coming across your desk every day, and valuable time is being wasted on manual security reviews. With Vanta Questionnaire Automation, security and compliance teams can complete security reviews up to 5 times faster, giving you time back to focus on running your security and compliance programs. Over 8,000 global companies like ZoomInfo, Smart Recruiters, and Noibu use Vanta to save time on security reviews. Visit vanta.com/podcast to learn more about questionnaire automation. That's VANTA.com/podcast.
This is a PSA, or public sock announcement. Experts have declared Bombas socks as the best way to warm up chilly feet. These pairs are super cushy, soft, and designed for maximum coziness. Plus, for every pair purchased, another pair will be donated, so someone in need of essential clothing can stay warm this winter. Go to bombas.com/ESPNpod and use code ESPNpod for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/ESPNpod and use code ESPNpod.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to the A to Z savings event at AutoZone.
Thanks. I need to change my oil. So how much is an oil filter?
Free when you buy 5 quarts of oil. Right now, we have a special on Valvoline Advanced Full Synthetic or High Mileage Motor Oil.
The oil filter is free with the Valvoline
Advanced Full Synthetic or High Mileage Motor Oil? Yep, the free oil filter is part of the A to Z savings event. Only at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Thanks for listening to the Michael K. Show podcast.
He's been here a long time, and he's going to be here even longer.
Catch the show on demand whenever you want. Just subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts.
The Dropkick Murphys and Bad Religion, they are coming to the Stone Pony Summer Stage on Wednesday, August the 13th. ESPN New York is your chance to score tickets on the ESPN New York app. Just find the contest tile and submit your entry. It's brought to you by Live Nation. Tickets are on sale right now at Ticketmaster.com. Little Stone Pony, little Asbury Park, little summer at the Jersey Shore. Nothing could be better than that. 800-919-3776. That is the telephone number. Grassa sitting in for Michael here today. Michael's on the mic for, see that what I did there? Yankees Rays in the spring training opener right now down in Tampa. Yanks have an early 2-0 lead in the top of the second inning, so it's obvious they're going back to the World Series this year. I mean, that's the only conclusion we could draw from the first inning of baseball here in the spring. 800-919-3776. Let us say hi to Ruben. He is in New Haven. He's up next here on ESPN New York. Hello, Ruben. How are you?
Dan, how are you? I just
Ruben,
wanted to quickly touch base. Good to hear. Happy Friday. It's about time with this hair policy thing. You'll never convince me that the Yankees didn't get Luis Castillo 2 seasons ago. And it was because of the hair. It was because of the hair. Every report said the deal was done. He ended up all of a sudden in Seattle. It was the hair. No one will convince me otherwise. Ellie De La Cruz is going to be a free agent. O'Neal Cruz is going to be a free agent. What if Acuna or Tatis become available? We're just supposed to ignore that? Just let Boston take them. It makes no sense. And another thing, I watch the Yankees religiously, and over the past couple of years, they seem like they're not having fun. It's this grind. No one's smiling. No one's enjoying themselves because they have to feel like they have to put on this Yankee face of decor. Man, enjoy the game. Be yourself. Show your personality. Win some games. Win games. Nobody will think even twice about some stupid hair policy. Take it easy, brother.
Ruben, appreciate it. Look, I don't know necessarily if the Luis Castillo thing fell apart because of that. You know, at the end of the day, it still came up to, I still think it comes down to how much were the Yankees willing to give up to Cincinnati to be able to get Castillo. And Seattle probably sweetened the pot, and that's how they got him. Right? It's as simple as that. You know, the Yankees pivoted, decided, and they ended up with Frankie Montas. And you know how that worked out. And now he's the Mets problem. But, down the road, is that something that also has to be addressed? Probably. Like I said, this is a long time coming. And I'm really surprised because Hal Steinbrenner was asked about the hair thing, too, today. And he said, no, everything else remains the same. Okay, it remains the same today. Why, though? Because I think that Ruben brings up an outstanding point. Like you've got guys that may or may not become available here that have long hair. You going to tell them to cut their hair? Fernando Tatis Jr., for example, becomes available. The Yankees are going to nix the deal. Brian Cashman, whose job may or may not be on the line, even though he has like a lifetime contract with the team. You're going to say no to a trade to bring in an unbelievable player because he's got long hair? Come on. Let's say hi to Jose in Brooklyn. He's up next here on ESPN New York. Hey, Jose, how are you?
Good afternoon, Mr. Graza. Shout out to the company and hello to Ray, Anthony, and so I just wanted to definitely comment on the beer policy because even though I am of a younger Yankee generation and I'm part of that 90s generation that never really got to experience like losing seasons, that type of Rubicon. I'm a little bit more old school because that was something like I remember my grandmother who indoctrinated me into being a Yankee fan. She pretty much used to enjoy the fact that people were clean cut and all of that. So I'm not going to go out there and say that it's not passé. But when it comes to career advancement, just like any other job, there's going to be certain jobs that will require you to do a test before you actually get hired, or require or have certain lifestyle changes.
Jose, let me stop you for 1 second. Jose, let me stop you for 1 second.
Yeah.
If the beard thing is such a deterrent and it's so unbecoming, why do they allow guys to have tattoos all around their necks, which is like an inch away from your cheek? That's okay, but the beard is so awful.
Which used to be, and the thing is I'm not disagreeing with that at all. With tattoos at that point, and that used to actually be a policy back then, where you needed to have tattoos like underneath the uniform and everything. But now that's like we see, all of these things are passé. But I will say that when you're applying for certain jobs that have a certain prestige, if I want to apply for Coca-Cola, if I want to apply for Walt Disney, there's going to be certain lifestyle changes that certain people may have to make, and it's going to be up to that individual person, kind of like the CC Sabathia. Do I want the extra a couple of $100 million? I got to shave off the beard, I guess. And that's kind of what it comes down to. And honestly, for all the people who said that this was passé and everything, guess what? You know what this means now? I expect to win championships, baby. I expect, for the next 5 years, we're going to win like 4 championships because now we're going to have fun. We can be allowed to look like disgusting slobs and have a good time and be having fun and all of that because
Jose, let's be fair.
Not because we weren't winning. It was because, oh my God, we're asking Aaron Judge to be clean cut when that actually helps with endorsements and
Jose, see, Jose, you're taking it down a different road, and I thank you for the call. I resent what you're saying. I'm not sitting here and telling you that, it's becoming, if you want to, like Brandon Marsh and Jason Worth and guys like that, where you look like Captain Caveman. You do look a little scummy. But you can have a beard on your face, and that's what the Yankees and Hal Steinbrenner said today. If it's properly kept, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm a fine-looking individual. I have a nice-looking beard on my face. Keep it clean. But I'm not saying that you should look like you crawled out from a gutter like some of these other guys do, and that's not what the Yankees are even going for. But at the end of the day, it still should come down to winning games. And if you're a fan, that is the bottom line. It should be, at least. And I'll say it again, this is just the beginning. Maybe, the Yankees are finally seeing the modern way of things. Alternate jerseys will be coming to a retailer near you, the Yankees Clubhouse shop. I mean, remember, how about this? Speaking of merchandise, the holier-than-thou Yankees, these are the same Yankees that last year when the Dodgers came to Yankee Stadium, they're sitting there selling Shohei Ohtani merchandise in their clubhouse store. Why? All for the sake of making a buck. That's why. If George was still alive, you think that he would have allowed Shohei Ohtani merchandise to be sold at Yankee Stadium? Not by the vendor outside on River Avenue. In Yankee Stadium, the Yankee Clubhouse shop. Shohei Ohtani stuff. You think back during those Yankee Red Sox days, if George would have allowed, David Ortiz and Manny Ramirez merch to be sold at Yankee Stadium? No. It's all about the value of a dollar, though, now. And baseball's learning that out the hard way on a national level. Say hi to Gooch in Queens, who's up next here on ESPN New York. Hello, Gooch. How are you?
Hey, listen, I got to tell you, you say the Yankees ain't no different than anybody else. Well, you know what? Now they ain't. Now they're just like regular chumps like everybody else. No, the Yankees, you got to be their way or no way. That's what makes them special. That's why they sell out. That's what makes people all around the world love the Yankees. Even a made guy can't grow his hair and have a beard. It's just the way it is.
So you think people like the Yankees because they don't allow they didn't allow their players to have beards and long hair?
No, but it's traditional. Yankees, they got to be clean cut. That's their image. Can't change their image. Why are you going to go backwards? You're going to be like everybody else? No, we don't want to be like everybody else. We're the Yankees.
You've got one championship in the last 25 years. How is that special?
We still got more than anybody else. It's the tradition.
Yeah. Gooch, you know what? If you want to contort history to suit your argument, be my guest, and I love you for that, and I thank you for the phone call. Back when you had, a fraction of the teams in baseball and none west of the Mississippi, and you were counting championships then, they still count. They were played, It's like those hockey teams that were, the original six with the Montreal Canadiens that were winning all those championships when you had six freaking teams in the league. They still count, but, the playing field was skewed a little bit, I would say. Just a little bit. Let's say hi to Richard in Manhattan. Let's get his perspective on this. Richard, how are you?
Dan, you're 100% right. I don't care about here, no here. I don't care about George. I don't even care about winning, and this is all nonsensical. Hal Steinbrenner came across badly yesterday. He sounds like a little kid kicking, and he's banging the door. He's begrudgingly saying we're going to allow. You don't do that. Once you make the decision, Hal, you embrace it. You say this is the time now. It's about time and that's it. Glorify it, embellish it. Say we had all these years this way without the hair. Now we're going. But nobody cares that you don't understand the hair business. I'm older than him. I never had a beard. I wouldn't say that. Whatever the kids want, they want. I remember a time you didn't wear sneakers in church. Things change. People change. Life changes. And he sounds like an old fart. Really. He really comes. I think he came across worse than Steve Cohen came across. I don't think Steve Cohen in his heart meant that the Met fans should spend their money to come out. But that's another story. But how yesterday sounds like he's not happy doing this. That's even worse than not doing it. I'd rather him not have changed it. He would have been true to his word. But now he's changing it, and he's saying, well, I still don't like it, blah, 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 blah. He's not saying anything about the times, the modern ball players. You're 100, and I think you're 100% right. If he would have came there with him and Cashman with fake beards, and that would have been a hoot. It really would have. So I'm surprised these guys just don't have anybody to tell them how they sound before they get in front of a microphone. He doesn't sound right. Dan, I want to bring up one more quick thing. You mentioned that the Tampa Bay is going to start playing it down at the Yankee complex, their games. And, Dan, 50 years ago, the Yankees had nowhere to go. They were renovating the old stadium, so they went to Shea Stadium. Mets were playing at Shea. The Jets played at Shea in September, and the Giants came back from the Yale Bowl. We had a new mayor. Mayor Lindsay, the worst mayor we've ever had, kicked the Yankees out because he knew they were building a stadium across the river. So he said, yeah, go to the Yale Bowl. We don't want you here. Well, he didn't, his term limits were up. Beam came in 75, and he said, come on back, you New York Yankees. So you had 4 sports teams in one stadium during the course of 9 months. That's unbelievable. I bet you that'll never happen again. Always a pleasure, Dan. Thank you.
Rich, thanks for the phone call. Look, times are changing, guys. Times are changing. Bottom line. Things are just different. How about, think about all these unwritten rules of baseball that we spent so much time over the last few years talking about and how things have changed. Cadillacing after you hit a home run. Can't do that. Well, now it happens all the time because now it's more accepted. The showmanship that was once upon a time forbidden in baseball. You can't do that. Not in baseball. You can't show emotion. It's baseball. It's the gentleman's code. You can't do that. Well, that's what they do now. It's different. You have to adjust. You have to adapt or else you get left behind. Guess what? I also have other news for you. And this, not me, not you maybe. I grew up with baseball, diehard baseball, loved the damn game. I'm going to still be locked in 162 games. They got me. But for the majority of kids out there, guess what? The new generation, baseball's boring. It's boring. Why do you think Major League Baseball is going through hoops and doing all they can now just to find a new TV contract that they can actually make money and keep up with these other leagues that they're lagging behind? Baseball does not have that same national cachet it used to have. They call it the national pastime all they want. Guess what? Nationally, it's not even a blip on what the NFL is. NBA stars are way more identifiable to the average fan than Major League Baseball players are. I mean, every October, for crying out loud, we could sit here and when the Major League Baseball playoffs start, I sit here and I start talking about, a series between, Milwaukee and San Diego. Most people never even heard of half of the guys that I'm talking about because they don't watch the Brewers nationally. They don't watch San Diego nationally. But if I sat here in the NFL playoffs and I talked about, Washington against Detroit, you would know who the hell I'm talking about. You have to adjust. And even though it took the Yankees until 2025, you know what? Good for them. 800-919-3776. More to do. Grassa hanging out with you here on ESPN New York.
Hey, when you work hard, you save hard. So treat yourself with well-earned savings all month long at Bay Ridge Mazda. Get financing rates as low as 0.9% APR on nearly every new model in stock. 0.9% APR. Their goal is complete credit approval regardless of your score. Plus, take advantage of Bay Ridge Plus benefits like ding and dent coverage, key replacement, windshield protection, and roadside assistance. Come see them today in Brooklyn or online at BayRidgeMazda.com. See dealer for details.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Aloe or Allbirds or Skims, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. The secret's out. Businesses that want to grow, grow with Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Untuckit uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/network. All lowercase. Go to shopify.com/network to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/network.
Brace the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started today at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
Thanks for listening to the Michael K. Show podcast.
He's been here a long time, and he's going to be here even longer.
Catch the show on demand whenever you want. Just subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts.
Dan Grassa hanging out with you on ESPN New York. Michael's doing the Yankee game. With you till 3 o'clock. Then it's Don Hahn and Rosenberg. 800-919-3776. That is the telephone number. We'll get to the Knicks coming up here in our second hour. And real quick, as far as the Knicks are concerned, we have a big one tonight in Cleveland, but they're going to have to go about it shorthanded again because Josh Hart and Mitchell Robinson have been ruled out. OG Anunoby listed as questionable. We'll see if OG could get back out on the court. So they were without all three of those guys last night in being able to escape the Chicago Bulls with a Much-needed overtime victory, much needed in the sense that you couldn't lose that game. I mean, injuries aside, use whatever excuse you want, the layoff, sloppiness, you name it, you could not lose that game. They did. That's the bottom line, but far from a perfect performance, and they're going to have to be a whole lot better tonight if they want any shot at knocking off the team with the best record in the Eastern Conference. Let us say hi to Jose is in Newburgh. He's up next here on ESPN New York. Jose, good afternoon. How are you?
What's up? This is my first time calling ESPN Radio.
How do you feel about that, Jose? What prompted the phone call?
Man, there's another, I switch back and forth, and I don't know, today just pissed me off. I don't know, I'm sorry. Yeah,
hey, better to get pissed off than pissed on, Jose. That's what I always say.
Yeah, I listen to you, though. This is not my first time listening. Listen, man, what's wrong with history, man? What's wrong with tradition? What's wrong with honor? What's wrong with any of that stuff, man? What's wrong with that? We never missed out on any big players. There's no one player ever turned us down because they couldn't grow a beard. There's not. I want to hear about.
Brian Cashman just told you CC Sabathia almost did.
He didn't. It doesn't happen. Almost doesn't count. They all fall in line. It's all good. We throw a lot of money at them and they win. Listen,
but Jose, here's the thing. Jose. Thanks for the phone call, and you get back to us, okay? I want you to call back a second time, and a third, and a fourth, and a ninth. But CC Sabathia, when he decided to come to the Yankees, that was 15 years ago. All right, 15 years ago is an eternity, especially in professional sports and in baseball. 15 years ago. Who's to say that whether it's next winter or 3 winters and 3 off seasons down the road that the Yankees are not going to be faced with a dilemma to where if they had the beard policy in place or a long hair policy, which is still a thing, that they lose out on a player. Vlad Jr. is up next year. Vlad Jr., everybody's going to want him, whether it's the Mets, the Yankees, the Red Sox, you name it. Okay, Vlad Jr. might be available. Vlad Jr., last time I checked, he's got facial hair. One time, Vlad Jr. had the long hair. Would he part with that? If it meant being a Yankee or not being a Yankee, right? It's little things like that. And, you got to stop with this tradition. It's not like we're sitting here breaking laws. Having a beard versus not having a beard, what is this? 29 other teams in the sport allow their players to wear and look however the hell they want. It's called show up to work every day. We're paying you a lot of money. Give 1,000% when you're on the field. The 3 or 4 at-bats you get every day. Hustle when you're on the base paths. Hustle and pay attention. Stay engaged when you're out there playing the field. And that's all we ask from you. Don't get in trouble off the field. If you do that, fine. If you want to have a beard, that should be the least of their concerns, right? That should be the absolute least of their concerns. But all this stuff with tradition, stop. Stop. Times have changed. Once upon a time, women in this country were not allowed to vote. That was called tradition. Right? But think about how ridiculous some traditions were in this country once upon a time. And this is a beard. Hector in Queens is up next here on ESPN New York. Hello, Hector. How are you?
Hey, Dan. So I want to thank you for giving me my first and my only ever Yankee curmudgeon call back in the old K show. Also,
Hector, you were the one that sounded like an old curmudgeon when you called, right?
Yeah, man.
I remember that
Joey
call.
Gallo so much. I couldn't stand Joey Gallo, and we were like 30 games above 500. You know what I'm saying? But listen, I'm hearing some of the callers call and emphasize that I'm going to circle back to one of your callers that said we didn't get Luis Castillo because of the beard policy. Yeah, man. Some callers just lack intelligence. Also, so hopefully, you know what? If this beard policy is going to make Aaron Judge show up in the playoffs with a beard, I'm all for it, Dan. Let's go Yankees, baby. That's all I wanted to say.
That's an interesting thing. And Hector, thanks a lot for the phone call, and it's good to hear from you again. I don't know if Aaron Judge would be one of the beard players. And I could care less one way or the other, really and truly. Like I said, I thought it would have been funny. Like I would have actually gotten a kick out of the fact if Cashman and Howe showed up to the press conference and they wearing fake beards. That would have been funny. But the Yankees, I guess they're not all the way there yet in terms of having a sense of humor. Hopefully it'll change. Hopefully it'll come. Mike is in Newburgh. He's up next here on ESPN New York. Hello, Michael. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
Hey, Mike.
So I'm a huge Yankee fan. I was actually going to call the DNR show and make this my morning roast, but now I can't because they changed the policy. So I want to make 2 points. My first point is, don't give me the tradition nonsense. You slap that stupid star patch right on top of your pinstripes, your holy pinstripes, and I'm a huge Yankee fan. So if you're going to do that and you're not going to participate in the City Connect jersey, you're like one of the only teams that won't do that either. Don't tell me tradition.
That will happen, though, Mike, but you're right. And I forgot about the endorsement thing. See, they're not above making money just like any other team is. You're right.
Right. And I, honestly, I love the Yankees. I have their logo tattooed to my right arm. But go ahead, have some fun. Make a City Connect jersey. Come on, let's get with the program here. It's 2025. So as far as the facial hair policy goes, I'm a teacher, and I like having a little facial hair. And when I have to clean shave, or if I just do that for like a wedding or whatever, I just don't feel like I'm on my game. Like, I just don't feel like myself. So you want these guys to win, so let them just be themselves, have fun, and that might turn into, a better culture in the dugout, and, you might get some more wins out of it.
Mike, that's the bottom line, right? Be you. You do you. Whether you're an athlete, whether you're not an athlete, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a fireman, whether you're a police officer, whether you dig ditches, whether you're a lawyer, whatever you do you. And it shouldn't be any different if you're a baseball player. I don't care how much money you make, okay? All that you should be required to do is to go out there and give your very best. Your very best, whether you got hair on your face or you don't. It's as simple as that. And I'll say it again, all this time and all these years where the Yankees had the no beard policy, right? It was still okay to have guys with tattoos all over their body, tattoos almost up to where your beard comes in. That was okay. Everybody could see those, right? We could see those. But God forbid if a little speckle of hair went on your face. God forbid. How ridiculous the whole thing and outdated it was. All right, good first hour. We come back for 60 minutes more. We'll continue this conversation. Got to get into the Knicks, got to get into the Four Nations, and a bigger conversation about baseball and its future and where it's heading, at least in terms of how we consume it. That is next. It's Dan in for Michael right here on ESPN New York.
Hey, maybe the off season, but every season is Bigelow tea season. You know I'm picky about what I drink, especially on days I have a show. One of the first things I do each day is reach for a mug full of Bigelow tea. I love the different flavor options. It's perfect for someone makes his living behind a microphone. Want to know what keeps me going? Look no further than my cup of Bigelow tea next to me in the studio. So grab a mug full of your favorite Bigelow tea and tea proudly. Bigelow tea, the official hot tea of the New York Yankees.
Thanks for listening to the Michael K. Show podcast.
You know what? Check yourself.
Hear more from Michael K. weekdays at 1 on 880 ESPN.
Suck it up and like it.
The ESPN New York app and your smart speakers.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
Love, exciting and new. Hello, Hannah Waddingham here. Have you seen the fabulous new Sun Princess? World-class entertainment, exceptional dining, and the greatest pizza ever. It's
Don't miss our Come Aboard sale with up to 40% off and free room upgrades. Visit princess.com or call your travel advisor to book. Princess Cruises. Terms and restrictions apply. Offer ends 2/28/25. Ships at Bermudan and British Registry.
This is the Michael K. Show podcast.
I gotta get more K.
Listen live weekdays at 1 on 880 ESPN, the ESPN New York app, and your smart speaker.
All right, rolling along here on a Friday afternoon. Grassin for K. ESPN New York, 800-919-3776. A lot of Yankees in that first hour. Boy, these fans are all fired up with the start of spring training. Yankees and Rays, I mean, they can't even contain themselves. They're so gung-ho. No, all kidding aside, the beard talk. Yanks are allowed to wear them now. Welcome to 2025. Hey, you remember Clay Holmes? He was a guy who was, dodgy at best as a Yankee closer in big spots. Then he became a middle relief guy. Now he's a Met, and he's going to be a starting pitcher. Hold on to your hats for that one. But Clay Holmes, he was asked today in Port St. Lucie his thoughts on the Yankees now saying bye-bye to the no beards.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that was always talked about there, obviously, and you always kind of imagined it being changed someday, but that day kind of felt far away. So I think it's somewhat surprising just because of how long the rule's been around. But yeah, I mean, it's a cool thing for the players. It'd be fun to see who grows a beard out.
Yeah, it'd be great. It'd be fun. Can't wait. Can't wait to see who has a beard. I mean, wow. Slow news day, I guess. Did anybody ask the question, hey, Clay, did that thought enter into your mind at all about re-signing with the Yankees? If the beard thing was gone, if you could grow a beard, would you have gone back to the Yankees? Even if they wanted him back, who knows? But nevertheless, we'll get back to those calls in just a second. Knicks, I mentioned it a few minutes ago, back at it tonight in Cleveland, and this is obviously a good test. It's a big couple of days for the Knicks. Cleveland tonight, in Boston on Sunday afternoon. They haven't beaten either one of those teams all season long. And it's funny because we sit here and really, I guess years ago, like any Knicks fan would have signed up for this. Like these are now like the new quote-unquote first world problems when it comes to the Knicks, is that we're lamenting the fact that they're winless against the Celtics, the Cavaliers, and the Oklahoma City Thunder. But they also have the fourth best record in the entire NBA. Right? Like, that's a great place to be in. And the last time I checked is they're not giving out any trophies or anything like that in the month of February. That happens in the spring. So everything is still out in front and ahead of this basketball team, and they could still do some really, really good things. But there are different markers throughout a regular season that you use as some sort of a measuring stick and a gauge a little bit, and tonight is one of those clearly. Now, you're going to be shorthanded again. So the odds are going to be stacked against you because no Josh Hart, no Mitchell Robinson, OG Anunoby questionable. Who knows if he's going to be able to play? And last night, as ugly as it was, they got it done. Right? We could sit here and poke holes through it and talk about woulda, coulda, shoulda, and you wish it was a little bit more smooth. And, I mean, let's face it, too. The Yankees. Knicks last night, they avoided a sweep against the Chicago Bulls. Like, they hadn't beaten that team all season long. But they found a way to get it done. And you know what? There are worse alternatives. You see what happened to the Phoenix Suns last night? We know that Phoenix is a disaster, and that's an experiment that just didn't work, and they're going to rip that team up probably come the summertime. But did you see Phoenix go to San Antonio or actually Austin, Texas, because the game was being played in Austin, but still, it was a Spurs home game, no Victor Wembanyama, and the Suns mailed it in against the Spurs and lost last night. So the Knicks could have easily gone down that road, but they found a way to win. And Mikal Bridges, you win that game last night because of him. He's here for his defense more than anything else. We thought, obviously, he's going to be a guy served to shut down opposing wings, not 7-footers, but thankfully it all counts just the same because he got his hand on the Vucevic shot there, and Vucevic had great position underneath the basket. I'm shocked that resulted in the way that it did. I'm surprised that maybe they didn't even blow the whistle. I'm glad that the referee swallowed it in that point because you want to take the refs out of that game in that sequence. But you get it to overtime, you beat the Bulls, and you go on and on. And look, things are good. In Knickland, things are good. When you separate all those other things, you've won 10 out of 12. You got the fourth best record in the NBA. And it's not going to get any easier down the stretch, by the way. Use last night as like a little bit of a microcosm. The entire top 5 in the Eastern Conference standings all won last night. They all won. Milwaukee and Indiana have clearly turned their seasons around after real slow starts. The Pistons are no longer a team that you could just kind of sneeze at and think that you have a walk in the park. That's not happening anymore. I don't know where the standings are going to fall when it's all said and done. Knicks can go out there and they're going to win their 50-plus games. They're going to have a real good season, but they might be dealt with a scenario where they're facing the Boston Celtics in the second round. And that, to me, is the doomsday scenario. So even though this team might be better than the one, and I think it's clearly better than the team that they've had for the last couple of years, and they might win more games and all those things, their journey still might end exactly at the same point that it did in each of the last 2 seasons, and that's the second round. So normally we like to measure that as a sign of progress, like how far do you go in the playoffs? Because back before the season started, we talked about, hey, you know what, you got to win at least a couple of rounds here, get to a conference finals, right? That's the next step for this team. Winning a round, we're just not content with that anymore. You need to show improvement. You went out and gave up 5 first-round picks to bring in Mikal Bridges. You made the big splashy trade for Karl Anthony Towns. Let's see something more out of it. But a funny thing happened along the way. Right? When you were putting all those plans together, you thought you were making these moves to close the gap on the Boston Celtics and the Boston Celtics only in the Eastern Conference. Nobody thought Cleveland was going to have the season they're having. And even though I'll believe it when I see it come playoff time, like I've said this many, many times, they're a good team, the Cavaliers. Don't get me wrong. But do I think they're a championship caliber team? No. Because I still don't think they're as good as the Boston Celtics. I think the Knicks can play, when healthy, with the Cleveland Cavaliers. They can. And if that's the team they get matched up in the playoffs, I'll take my chances. But if these standings finish exactly the same spot they are right now, Knicks may not get that chance because the Knicks might run right into Boston in round 2. And there's a better than good chance it's turn out the lights. Because we know what this Celtics team is capable of when they want to play, like the 2 games they played against the Knicks. And so you're right. Tonight, Sunday, those are big games. I know the regular season is long in the NBA. Just ask the players. Just ask the All-Stars. Most of them don't want to play night in and night out either. But there are certain ones on the schedule that you do circle, and they do count for just a little bit more. Tonight and Sunday are 2 of those games. And it just thinks you're going into this game tonight in a tough environment. Remember, Cleveland is 25-4 at home this year. 25-4. And the Knicks are going to go in there with a shortened roster. Where you're probably having to start Deuce McBride again. And you know what? Deuce had his best game of the season last night in a starting role. Good for him. They needed every one of those 23 points. Deuce and Precious in the starting lineup, which means your bench is going to be compromised tonight against a Cleveland team that, remember, they just traded for DeAndre Hunter and almost 20 points a game that they now have coming off the bench. Okay, that is a good basketball team. And tonight might be a tough ask, especially on the tail end of a back-to-back. I know Cleveland's coming off a back-to-back too, but they're going into their gym. And they're a little bit more whole right now than the Knickerbockers are. So I'll be real curious to see how this one plays itself out. Our coverage begins tonight at 6:30 right here on ESPN New York. 800-919-3776. That is the telephone number. Let us say hi to Will in Sacramento, who is up next here on ESPN New York. Will calling us from the capital of California. Hello, Will.
What's going on, Dan, man? How you doing today?
Will, I'm doing great. How's things out west?
It's all right, man. It's all right. I've been out here for like 10 years now. I'm originally from the Bronx. I'm a big Yankee fan. That's why I'm calling in. So basically, this whole facial hair thing, I think it bothers mostly a lot of the older crowd. I'm 35. This one guy called earlier, and he, you mentioned how CC might have not came, and he said, yeah, but he came anyway. Yeah, he came because that was back then. Times are different now. I mean, we're not the big guys on campus anymore. People are throwing out money to these guys left and right. At the time, it was different. People will cut the beard or make sacrifices to get the big money, but they don't have to do that now. They can get the big money other places. So I just think it's a different time. I'm not too mad at it, man. I'm happy. I think it's about time. And it's also, it says well-groomed. It's not like these guys are going to be out there looking crazy. So, I don't see a huge deal with it. I'm happy. I'm looking forward to it. I don't want to make changes like adding numbers or names on the back and things like that. I don't think that needs to happen. But as far as the beards, I think it's time for those type of changes to happen.
It's time, absolutely, Will. And I thank you for the phone call, man. Good to hear from you. It's not the same. You could talk about all this tradition and history, like Will said. It's not the same. And you know what? The guys who are going to be wearing those Yankee uniforms, it's not the guys who were out in Monument Park with those plaques and those numbers and the guys that won you championships. It's not Derek Jeter anymore. I'll give you an example. A guy that you let walk right out the door across town, across the Triborough Bridge in Juan Soto. Juan Soto's, 25, 26 years old? Okay? Those are the type of players that you're trying to attract to the New York Yankees. And those are the ones that you want wearing those pinstripes, beard or no beard. But Juan Soto, for example, is 26 years old. Okay? Let's just take anybody, whether you're a baseball player or not, in that age range. A 26-year-old baseball fan, in their lifetime, they were old enough to witness, one Yankee championship probably? One. 2009. And Juan Soto was 11 years old when the Yankees won that championship. And I don't know how many people are locked in at 10, 11 years of age as a fan. I don't know. Some more than others. But if you're not, and you really just kind of observe baseball kind of on a broader view, Whereas, the playoffs and championships and those type of things, you've only seen the Yankees really on that stage in the winner's circle one time. So spare me all this history and tradition. It's history and tradition if you're older and you grew up as a diehard fan and that's all you know and it's been a part of your DNA. But for guys who didn't grow up as Yankee fans, which is, let's say, the overwhelming majority of Major League Baseball players, they don't care about all that tradition and pinstripes and all that crap and championships. Because in their lifetime, Yankees haven't done much winning. We used to say the same thing about Madison Square Garden, the mecca of basketball, the mecca of what? Whether it's the LeBron Jameses, the Kevin Durants, like in their lifetimes, like the majority of those years, the Knicks were terrible. The Knicks were a joke. They were a laughingstock. So all this like playing at the Garden, like when we used to use that as the argument, and people would use that as the argument back in the day of why can't the Knicks attract any free agents? Because they don't care about all that stuff. It's about the here and now. And then all of a sudden, what's happened? The Knicks have turned their organization around. They hired smart people. They brought in good players. And oh, by the way, it translated to wins on the court. And that's why now the Knicks are a destination franchise once again, because they're winning. That's all it should be about at the end of the day. Javier in Queens is up next here on ESPN New York. Hello, Javier. How are you?
Hey, Dan. Thanks for taking my call. I wanted to call about the Yankees. Did I hear it correctly? Did Richard refer to Hal as an old fart in his call earlier?
I don't remember if he used any passing gas references. I don't know. I forgot about that one.
I feel very confident about that. And if that's the case, those are strong words. But
those are fighting words from Rich. If he said it, that's fighting words.
And, Hal doesn't look like, just like a rich kid who doesn't know how to take care of himself. He looks like, you disrespect him. He's going to come for you. But anyway,
you think Hal's going to throw hands? You think he's that type, Hav?
He's a Steinbrenner. The Steinbrenners are like, they come from like a tough background. They're not sissies.
Blue collar,
man. Cleveland, right? That's from Ohio.
Cleveland, yeah.
Anyway, so all right, with the Yankees, right, there is this deep contingency of, like, people who call in that all they want to do is talk about tradition and all they want to do is fire Cashman and Boone at every turn, right? And this offseason, like, if you look at it, like, on paper, like, they still have to play the games. They've had a good offseason, right? They pivoted well off of Soto. Giving Boone the money is the right thing to do. And, like, moving away from the facial hair, it's about time. Like, come on, like, They continuously do like the right thing, but like the majority of your calls today will be like negative calls, which is to me it's kind of creepy. I don't know about you. And if I may, can I get in a quick Knicks point?
Yes, you can. So
listen, with the Knicks, my hope is they're a good team. Like I don't want to complain about like a bad win, right? Like they should have beaten Chicago better yesterday, but like good teams find a way to win these games. So the Knicks are officially a good team, and my hope is that they have another gear to get into in the playoffs. Like maybe now is a good time to let these subs play a bit and potentially work their way into the rotation. But if not, they have a strong 8 to 9 guys to put up in the playoffs if they're healthy. So, let it be. And Cleveland, oh my God, like do not be afraid of Cleveland. Boston is the reigning champ. Other than that, the East is wide open. The Knicks can play really, really good ball. They can play up and down to their competition. And if they got another gear to get into, they can make a nice run, and they can impress people that are down on them. So that's my Knicks take for right now.
You just want to stay. You just want to get healthy, obviously, Hav. And thanks a lot for the phone call. Dave and I were talking about this yesterday in the morning. You're starting to lose out on opportunities. Okay, 27. Like there's 27 games left now in the regular season for the Knicks. So you might say, 27 games. That's plenty of time. It is, but it isn't. Because what the Knicks have to do is, number one, you got to finally get Mitchell Robinson out on the damn court. And I don't know when that's going to happen. All right, now, we might even drag into March. Right, it's going to be March in another week, which is unbelievable that we're even having this conversation. But you need to have Mitchell Robinson out on the court because you need to incorporate him with these guys in the lineup and how the pieces are all going to fit and what are the best lineup configurations that Tibbs is going to be able to use at different points of the game. And you know as well as I do that once Mitchell Robinson is given the green light to even, return to action and to play in a real game, you really think that Mitchell Robinson is going to be an Iron Man and never miss a game? That he's going to play back-to-backs? And the Knicks aren't going to use load management with Mitchell Robinson down the stretch to make sure that they can at least get him onto the floor come playoff time? So that's why I say it's 27 games, but it's actually a lot less than 27 that you're going to have a full complement of players. They have to start seeing how these pieces fit together because they're up against the 8 ball. Even these teams, like I mentioned, Cleveland making the DeAndre Hunter trade, all these clubs that improve themselves at the trade deadline, they already have a head start on the Knicks just trying to make sure that all these pieces fit together. And this is a tough scenario to go into tonight if you're going to be as shorthanded as the Knicks are. Jules in Queens is up next here on ESPN New York. What's up, Jules? How you doing?
What's up, Dan? How you doing, man?
Jules, you know what, Jules? Now that you called, I'm doing so much better. How's things with you, man?
I'm doing well, man. I just want to kind of refresh everybody's memory. Remember last year and maybe 2 years ago when the Yankees went out to L.A. to play the Angels, and they had that bat boy with the long hair?
Yes.
And how many Yankee fans were calling up, complaining, you know? I just wanted to bring out that point.
Wait, they were complaining about what?
That he had long hair, and this is not the Yankee way, and he wasn't even an employee of the Yankees. It's just a bat boy that the Angels provided the Yankees to be
Correct.
A bat boy.
It was Cleveland. It was Cleveland, actually.
Oh,
but right,
Cleveland.
I mean that's how it was. He was just some kid. Okay. Yeah, he was like a kid who, in the Ohio area who I don't know how they. I never really researched how they go about, visiting bat boys and all that stuff. But he's probably looking for a job, and he opened up the classifieds one day, and he's hey, bat boy, that looks cool, visiting bat boy. Hey, let me apply. They gave him the job. That's all. He wasn't a Yankee employee. But if that really raised the ire of Yankee fans, maybe it's time to get a hobby. Anthony, did you remember that at all? Was that a thing where Yankee fans were actually outraged over the visiting bat boy when they were on the road in Cleveland?
Well, Michael was the one that brought up on the broadcast in a, of course, joking way, not exactly a Yankee haircut, and people really ran with it. And
they were having some fun at his expense.
And we took a lot of calls on it for a long time.
Right, he had long hair, he had the little trailer park mustache, and he had,
an acne.
Yeah, he was in a rock band.
He became a friend of the Michael K. program.
How so? He was on the show?
I think he caught wind of the fact that we made it a thing, and he kind of liked that. And his band came to New York, I think, to tour, and a bunch of Yankee fans came with Yankee hats on and took pictures with him. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we had some fun with the guy. I think he was a bat boy last year too.
I think it definitely was for more than one series.
But there were a lot of people that were very upset by it, yes. How
about that?
It's a strange time we're in.
It is. Very, look, whatever floats your boat. Whatever's going to get under your feathers, that's your axe to grind there. Guardians, another team, by the way, same boat as the Yankees. Been to one World Series in the last 15 years, and we're runner-up. 800-919-3776. That is the telephone number. More of your phone calls. We come back. We got to get into the Four Nations finale from last night, and boy, did it live up to the hype. That was no NBA All-Star game. Grass in for K right here on ESPN New York.
Right now, at Bay Ridge Honda is the President's Day sales event. Come and get historic savings all month long. Explore monumental deals across their full lineup of Honda cars, trucks, SUVs, hybrids, and EVs. New Hondas are in stock and ready for you. Save thousands on a new Honda with 0% APR or drive a new Honda from $189 a month. Don't miss the biggest savings during the President's Day sales event. Plus, receive thousands in benefits and savings with their Bay Ridge Plus Advantage plan. Upfront pricing, total peace of mind. Visit BayRidgeHonda.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to the A to Z savings event at AutoZone.
Thanks. I need to change my oil. So how much is an oil filter?
Free when you buy 5 quarts of oil. Right now, we have a special on Valvoline Advanced Full Synthetic or High Mileage Motor Oil.
The oil filter is free with the Valvoline
Advanced Full Synthetic or High Mileage Motor Oil? Yep, the free oil filter is part of the A to Z savings event. Only at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void?
Void.
Well, with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills. Wait, did I say job title yet? Get started today and see how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
Bombas makes the most comfortable socks, underwear, and T-shirts.
Warning, Bombas are so absurdly comfortable you may throw out all your other clothes.
Sorry, do we legally have to say that?
No, this is just how I talk, and I really love my Bombas.
They do feel that good. And they do good, too. One item purchased equals one item donated.
To feel good and do good, go to bombas.com/ESPNpod and use code ESPNpod for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/ESPNpod and use code ESPNpod at checkout.
Thanks for listening to the Michael K. Show podcast.
He's been here a long time, and he's going to be here even longer.
Catch the show on demand whenever you want. Just subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts.
It's Game Time, brought to you by Tullamore Dew Irish Whiskey, because when it's game time, it's Tully time. Tonight at 7, the Knicks are in Cleveland, shorthanded, but they're going to take on the Cavaliers. Our pregame coverage begins at 6:30 right here on this very station, 880 ESPN. And that's Tullamore Dew, the original, triple distilled, triple blended, and triple cask matured Irish whiskey. Be sure to grab a Tullamore Dew or try the new Tullamore Dew Honey during tonight's action. Glasses up to enjoying Tullamore Dew responsibly. 800-919-3776. That is the telephone number. Graza in for Michael. He's on the mic today for the Yanks and the Rays. Spring training opener down in Tampa. Mets will kick off their exhibition schedule coming up tomorrow against, I believe it's the Houston Astros, I want to say, in Port St. Lucie. But nevertheless, the Mets will be on the field, and there's going to be a team in the other dugout as well. Juan Soto will also be a part of the festivities as a member of the New York Mets. Here he talks about his first week with the Amazons.
It's been fun. It's been really cool to get to know these guys. It's a new group of guys. It's a lot of guys that come in from another organization and everything. But it's cool to see how they get along together and how they've been building this team to win a championship.
They better get used to it, but he could be patient. He's got 15 years. He's not going anywhere. I don't know if you guys also saw that a sign of good faith by young Brett Beatty, who previously wore number 22. He gave up the number so Juan Soto could get it, which, tends to happen when the guy is rewarded with a $750 million contract. But, nice gesture by Juan Soto, returning the favor. Bought a nice car for Brett Beatty. So how about the car that he got for the young Met infielder?
It's a great feeling. We did our sources and tried to make sure that's the car he likes. And he was talking with one of our guys, and he was letting him know that it was a car of his dreams and everything, that he dreams with one of those cars. So I made sure he got it.
It really, it was cool. And look, even if, how much did they say the car was, guys? Like the sticker price or the MSRP? Was it like
$92,000 or something like that?
$92,000 is a drop in the bucket, obviously, for Juan Soto when you have $750 million. But still, that's awesome that he would do something like that. Now, is Brett Beatty the one that stuck with the insurance payments, though, or is Soto going to be able to take care of that, too, like throughout the life of the car? Are you going to maybe Venmo him the insurance money each month? Like, what do you think?
I think Steve Cohen should pay that bill.
Or somebody should, right? Because that's the problem. Like, whenever you get somebody a gift, in this case it's a car, but whenever you get somebody a gift that, like, requires a subscription or something like that, they're the ones that have to foot the bill for the subscription. It's kind of like a thanks but no thanks. So, if you're going all out to buy him the car, at least, like, kick in, for the insurance payments each month, right? He can afford it. And maybe if they ask nicely, maybe Juan will take care of that. You never know. Let's say hi to Frank in New Jersey. He's up next here on ESPN New York. Hello, Frank.
Hey, Dan. First-time caller, long-time listener for your show. I just wanted to say, when it comes to the Knicks, people have to remember almost 30 – I've been a season ticket holder for almost 30 years. You know how embarrassing it used to be to go to the Garden around this time of year and see empty stands, and sometimes even in the concessions, people were giving stuff away just to get people in these seats? We have to address the depth on the bench. That's obvious. We're hoping for Mitchell Robinson to return, but it's been a while since people have been interested in coming to New York to play for the Knicks. We got to embrace that and keep it going. It doesn't end here, but again, I'm excited, for the next coming months and what have you, and the fact that we're on top of the standings rather than below the standings.
Frank, I think you hit it right on the head, and thanks for the phone call. And, I kind of joke about it, and you talk about, like, all of a sudden the Knicks fan finds themselves in the whole, like, first world problems type of discussion. If you're going to complain about how things are maybe unfolding and maybe they're not quite at the level of the Boston Celtics, or maybe even if they got leapfrogged when it's all said and done by the Cleveland Cavaliers. Like, think about where this team used to be, right? Like, you don't have to even go back that far. I remember I was in the building. I was doing the games. You'd walk around. You know what you would see walking around the concourse, especially on like that second level where our broadcast area was? You walk around the concourse most nights, and you'd see people with backpacks who clearly look like out-of-towners. And they were tourists who were just in because, hey, it's Madison Square Garden. It's the world's most famous arena. Got to step foot in it. And you know what? Tickets were easy to come by because the Knicks were dreadful. And especially if you weren't playing a sexy opponent that had like a star that maybe would bring people through the gates, that's what you saw at Madison Square Garden. Not like now. There weren't people hitting you up for tickets back then. I can promise you that. The Knicks have come leaps and bounds. And that's why, like, the minute you want to maybe be, complain and be dissatisfied at where they are, or they're not, championship level yet, hey, think about how it used to be. And look at the turnaround this club has made. This is a good team. You have the fourth best record in the NBA. They're good. They're really, really good. And dare I say, only getting better. This team's going to be together for a while. This isn't like going all in on this season. And if it doesn't work, oops, you're losing all these guys. Where are they going? This is your team. You are going to be in the conversation. As a Knicks fan, you should know that over the next couple of years, you're going to be in the conversation to chase championships. And that's all you can ask for. Right? The people that are in charge right now, calling the shots for the Knicks, they're doing it right. 800-919-3776, that is the telephone number. So last night, we also had the much ballyhooed finale of the Four Nations, and it went to overtime. Drama just intensifying. And I kind of had a feeling. I just did. I kind of felt it in my bones. I just had a feeling Canada was going to win the game once it went to OT. Right? Especially when you had those chances with Austin Matthews right there and Jordan Binnington standing on his head. And when they couldn't convert there, I said, Canada's going to find a way to win this thing. And they did. And I guess it's fitting that it's the best player in the world who ultimately puts home the series-clinching goal in Connor McDavid, and Canada takes it. And, good for Canada. And, again, if the USA won this thing, great. Obviously, we were rooting for him, but it wasn't going to change my life any. It wasn't going to probably change your life any unless you had money on the game, right? And if Canada won, so be it. Okay, that was fun. You know what it was? It was fun. Great job by the NHL. Great job by the NHL Players Association. Everybody that put this thing together. Because you know what they did? They found a way to make the last 2 weeks of what ordinarily might just be a completely dull vacation period for the sport, going off to some, meaningless international competition. They made it must-watch. And even when the NBA shut down for half of that period, right? They made and gave you something that was must-see TV. And as a sports fan, that's all you can ask for. That's all you can ask for. And it intensified, and you had all the drama you could want in the final. And let's hope they find a way to do something like this again. Right? I tweeted that out last night as soon as it went final. I said, you know what? Hopefully we could keep bringing this thing back, but you have to do it in a way where you really have to be careful to make sure that this thing doesn't get stale. Right? Because once upon a time, interleague play was a thing that Major League Baseball introduced. And you only did it, you played a couple of series each year against, the opposing division in the same league. But then after a while, it became played. And it became stale, and it watered down other things like the World Series and the All-Star Game, and now it's like a part of our game period every single day, right? That's what they have to be cognizant of. The Olympics is every 4 years. Okay, great. Hockey players are going to play in the Olympics next year. Fantastic. This was a good springboard for that. If the competition is even half as good as this Four Nations was, we're going to be in for a treat again next year. And next year you're opening it up, of course, because there's going to be more than just Four Nations. You're going to get even more of the best players in the world competing in this tournament for a couple of weeks at the Olympics. So I'm looking forward to that. And normally, I could take it or leave it when it comes to the pros playing in the Olympics. But this one, I'm back in. I know it's a long time from now, but this was great. And I know that the NBA All-Star Game, look, it took plenty of shots, many of blows, and rightfully so over the last week because it was a disgrace and it's kind of just devalued itself into basically be something that none of us need to pay any attention to. And that's the NBA's problem to fix. Not mine, not yours. They got enough headaches right now. All right, but they don't care to, I don't think, because look at the TV contract they just signed. And this will tie us into Major League Baseball coming up in just a couple of minutes. But I really don't think at the end of the day, the powers that be with the NBA and the players certainly are losing any sleep about the joke that All-Star Week and All-Star Weekend have become. Normally this is like the dead time of the year on the sports calendar where spring training is just getting underway. The NHL may or may not be in their All-Star break. NBA does their All-Star break. And unless you're a diehard college hoops fan like I am, that's really the only thing that you have to keep you going in February once the football is done. But this year we were given that rare treat, and that was in the form of the Four Nations. And it was a lot of fun. The fact that it was only a handful of games, it wasn't something like each and every day. You had the space in between. It was something to look forward to. David in the car, up next, here on ESPN New York. David, how are you?
How you doing, Dan? Nice talking to you.
Hey, Dave.
I got to be honest. I watched it. I'm not a diehard hockey fan, but I thought it was really entertaining. It was a real game. Kachuk brothers were throwing the body. And then the best part, with all the fighting and everything, all the back and forth, they all shook hands at the end. I think it was a classy game from top to bottom. I read it in the paper, and I had to think about it. None of the other sports do that. Only hockey. And I really like that aspect. You could go that hard and really hit somebody, and then at the end, everyone shakes hands. It's almost like, okay, I respect you, and we're going to move on. And I just thought it was a really hockey hit it right. They hit it right in this regard, and I really was it was very entertaining, but it was really compelling to watch them all be nice and civil to each other at the end.
Well, I mean, Dave, I don't know. I mean, Dave, would you consider yourself a big hockey fan or not really?
No, not really. I mean, I watched when I was younger. I really don't have time. I'll watch here and there. I'm more of a casual fan now. But that's what you're looking for. You're looking for the casual fan. Not the diehards. You're always at the diehards. The casual fan. Now, if that was to come up again, I'll be sure to watch. I'll be honest. Yeah. Hockey hit it right. And not only that, it propels me to watch more hockey because they hit it right so much now. I'll rewatch it again.
Well, that's good. And that's what this type of a tournament hopefully will achieve. And I'm not sitting there trying to tell you, and Dave, thanks a lot for the phone call. I'm not sitting there trying to tell you that, they're going to have people flocking through the turnstiles tomorrow when the NHL restarts again just because they got caught up in the win there with the Four Nations. But even if you get 5% of new fans that maybe weren't watching the NHL religiously off of the Four Nations, great. It's a win. It's a win-win. Success. But as far as look, hockey, they do the handshake line in the playoffs. After every series, no matter first round or Stanley Cup Finals, they're shaking hands. And in the other sports, they do things. The football game ends. They don't have handshake lines, but they all congregate on the field and they hug each other and, they take a knee and some of them, they join hands in a circle and they pray to Jesus, right? I mean, some of them are trading jerseys on the field and posing for pictures. It's, that kind of barbaric aspect of sports that maybe there once was, that doesn't happen anymore. More often than not, you're not going to have teams walk off the court, like the Detroit Pistons did to Jordan and the Bulls back in the day, as a team when a series ends. Everybody's buddy with one another. That's a turnoff to some people in sports. They don't like it. They wish there was a little bit more animosity. But everybody's going to kind of, sing Kumbaya to an extent after the games, but they don't have the line like hockey does, and that's good. But look, tomorrow, we had the Four Nations. That kind of satisfied your appetite a little bit. And now tomorrow you go back and you have pretty much a full slate of hockey. Rangers are going to be in Buffalo, right? The Devils are home, I think, for Dallas. Where do the Islanders open? Are they even on the slate tomorrow, or do they open on Sunday against Dallas? Islanders don't play tomorrow. They play Sunday. So it's all coming back. And same thing like the NBA. This is the stretch drive. The playoffs start in less than 2 months. And these games should take on a greater level of importance. Hell, hockey, the trade deadline hasn't even happened yet. We're still a couple of weeks away from that. 800-919-3776, the telephone number. Brian is in Queens. He's up next here on ESPN New York. Hey, Brian.
Hey, what's going on, Dan? First time on the radio. Pleasure to be on.
Thanks, man. Thanks for calling.
I just wanted to, we're in the All-Star, I just want to make a comment about that. Me as a casual fan, I just want to see these athletes do the things that I can't do. The slam dunk contest, the home run derby. Like, the casual fan has I've never hit a home run. I've never slam dunked. I'm 5'7". You know what I'm saying? So I want to see the skills that these athletes have across all sports. I mean, the Four Nations hit, but I'd like the speeds, the racing and the hard hit and the accuracy that hockey used to do. To me, the NBA is a bunch of soft players and they all entitled. And that's why we get the product that we got on All-Star Game. But I really was calling about the Knicks. I feel like there's no need to panic. We got these injuries, but what we really need to hope for is everybody's healthy in the playoffs. Last year, we lost Randall, we lost OG, we lost to a Pacers team that we know we should have beaten if we was full strength. OG hurt, Mitchell still hurt, Hart is now a little hurt. We got time. We got a 10-game cushion lead over like the play-in, still a top 5 team in the NBA. I just feel like as much as maybe some fans are panicking, all we need to hope for is that we're 100% when the playoffs come. And I'm not scared of Boston. Nobody should be on paper.
Brian, why aren't you scared of Boston? Tell me why. What have you seen when the Knicks play the Celtics that would allow you to have all this confidence when you match up with the Celtics? Because so far I haven't seen it this year. Maybe you're watching a different game than I am.
No. I think Tatum is the outlier, but I think OG could really give Tatum a lot of problems. And I feel like if we are 100%, Mitchell there, Hart there, we do match up well against them, Kristaps, he's a big man, but Mitch could cause problems with him. So did Karl Anthony Towns. If you remember what he did with Jokic, he didn't score a lot, but he kept Jokic at bay, and that's why we was able to beat that Denver team a couple of weeks back. So I just feel like now is not the time to worry. We just need to wait and hope that when the playoffs come, we are completely 100% so that we could really see the true Knicks and what their real potential is. Because as of right now, we might have to run into them in the second round. But I feel like if we could at least push it to 7 games, we had a quality season.
Well, Brian, you got to get there first. Got to get there. And I thank you for the phone call. And boy, you're not giving the Celtics enough credit. And that's why I got to ask you, like I said, did you watch those games? Ray, I don't know. See if we could get if we have a VHS copy laying around, maybe of the 2 Knicks Celtics games this year, and see if we could send it out to Brian. I don't know if he's still on hold. We get his address because I think you need to give those games another watch.
Do I have to be kind and rewind first, or
please? No. Please be kind and rewind.
Gotcha.
Remember, it was please be kind and rewind. But I mean, Brian, the Celtics just before the All-Star break on that Saturday night came into Madison Square Garden shorthanded, without 2 starters, without KP, without Drew Holiday. And they beat you by almost 30. And they did whatever they wanted to do. And they even allowed the Knicks to, get back in the game, almost like they were carrying them, like they were a chump fighter. And then they went and just ran them off the floor. They've played the Knicks twice this year, and they've made 48 three-pointers. 48. They've played 2 games against the Knicks this year, 1 in each building, and they've basically been carbon copies of one another. And they weren't even whole. And I'll repeat it again. Everybody that talks about there's still time and you want to get healthy and stuff like that before the playoffs, yes, I know, but you want to get these guys on the floor together. Mitchell Robinson has not played basketball, it seems like, in an eternity. And even when he is given the green light by the Knicks trainers, you know they're going to manage his workload down the stretch. You have to be able to put these pieces together in game form and see how they're going to mesh. You don't want to use the playoffs as the experiment period. You can't. Look, I think the Knicks will be okay, but you also got to give some respect to the Celtics. They are the champs for a reason, and they're still the team to beat. I don't care where they finish in the standings. All right, 800-919-3776, telephone number. We come back, we'll talk about baseball and their never-ending search now for a big-time TV contract to measure up to the other sports, because you know what? They're not getting it from ESPN much longer. Grass in for Mike right here on ESPN New York.
College basketball is reaching its most exciting stretch of the season. Right now, new customers on FanDuel get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $150 extra bucks to bet on everything from conference clashes to tournament upsets and even who's cutting down the nets. Maybe you want to ride the red-hot Red Storm. You like the Blue Bloods? Take Duke. Can UConn surprise everyone and three-peat as a champion? If you've been waiting to join FanDuel, there's no better time. The app is easy to use, and when you win, you'll get paid instantly. So visit FanDuel.com/K and get in on the college hoops action before March takes over. 21 plus, physically present in New York. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Aloe or Allbirds or Skims, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. The secret's out. Businesses that want to grow, grow with Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Untuckit uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/network, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/network to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/network.
As the number and severity of third-party breaches continue to rise, companies are increasingly vigilant, not just about how they handle their own data, but how their vendors do as well. For security and compliance leaders, this means more security reviews are coming across your desk every day, and valuable time is being wasted on manual security reviews. With Vanta Questionnaire Automation, security and compliance teams can complete security reviews up to 5 times faster, giving you time back to focus on running your security and compliance programs. Over 8,000 global companies like ZoomInfo, Smart Recruiters, and Noibu use Vanta to save time on security reviews. Visit vanta.com/podcast to learn more about questionnaire automation. That's VANTA.com/podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Michael K. Show podcast.
He's been here a long time, and he's going to be here even longer.
Catch the show on demand whenever you want. Just subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts.
Grassa in for K on this Friday afternoon here on ESPN New York. He's off doing the Yankee game. Yanks have a lead over the Rays right now. For those that have already shaved today, it's 4-0 in the 6th inning. Marcus Stroman got the start. He went 1 inning, gave up 2 hits, struck out 1, but did not give up a run. So Stroman, look, getting the first nod We've talked about his situation a lot. We don't know if he'll be on the team, won't be on the team. He wants to start. Yankees have basically told him there's no room here for you as a starter. But you never know. Anything can happen during a long spring training, and we'll see how this stuff plays itself out. So yesterday we got official word that ESPN and Major League Baseball are going to be going their separate ways at the end of the 25 season, which is really no surprise because you knew that things were kind of heading for that path. There was an opt-out at the end of the 25 season that had to go into effect by, I believe it was March the 1st. And for the type of money that ESPN was giving Major League Baseball, which was north of $500 million a year, compared to some of these other media deals that Major League Baseball has done on a national level, whether it's with Apple TV or this thing now with Roku, which is paltry compared to that $550 million figure, it made no sense in the world for ESPN to continue the relationship. Now, Major League Baseball could sit there and say that we were the ones that opted out of the deal. And unless they've got something, lined up extremely lucrative, I don't know what they're thinking. But do you really think that ESPN is shedding any tears that their relationship with Major League Baseball is going to be coming to an end? Because let's face it, and baseball knows this, over the years, ESPN's, baseball profile has significantly diminished. I mean, we all know that. It's not anywhere near the days when Baseball Tonight was a literally a nightly program, must watch, but that was, back in the 90s, early 2000s. That's long a thing of the past. The appetite for Major League Baseball on a national level has diminished. And it pains me to say that because I am a diehard baseball fan, and a lot of you are as well, but it's just not what it used to be. And regular season Major League Baseball that has 162 games of inventory is just not going to play out nationally like it will these other sports. I'm just sorry. And I think that you have to be aware of that. And maybe Major League Baseball has or has not come to grips with that reality. But, I think the numbers tell you all you need to know. Because let's face it, Major League Baseball or ESPN had Sunday Night Baseball. They gave you Home Run Derby right before the All-Star game, and then they had the wild card round. Other than that, and scattered other games throughout the season. But I'll ask you the question. Unless you are an absolute diehard baseball fan, how many people are locked into Sunday Night Baseball if your team is not playing in it? Okay, if the Mets or the Yankees are not playing Sunday Night Baseball, you locked in? And I think most people probably around the country weren't. So I don't know where baseball goes from here. I really and truly don't. You're not going to get anything close to what the NFL does with their TV deals, okay? NBA, they just got their new TV deal done where they lumped in NBC and Amazon Prime and all these other things. Plus, you have the ESPN/ABC for billions and billions of dollars. Baseball's not going to come close to that. So it is a real tricky time for the sport and their financial well-being. I mean, I don't have to tell you, if you followed along, the regional sports networks have taken a beating nationwide to where a lot of them can't find dependable homes any longer. It is a tough sell right now to try to sell off baseball. And they could spew off all their attendance numbers and how great they are. Guys, you have 162 games. You have that many more opportunities to have people go through the turnstile compared to other sports. That shouldn't be your lone argument. Thanks to everybody, Ray and to Tom and Anthony for being a part of the show today. I will talk to you coming up on Monday. Don, Hahn, and Rosenberg is next on ESPN New York. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Hey, it's Michael K. I love when I get to talk about PC Richard & Son. This has been my go-to store for years now. They're local, they're family-owned, and they truly care about their customers. And you know how I love to support our local businesses. And you should too. During their President's Day sale, save big on appliances from all the top brands, up to 40% off. In fact, the more you buy, the more you save, with up to $1,000 in additional savings on qualifying appliances. So do what I do and get to PC Richard & Son today.
Thanks for listening to the Michael K. Show podcast.
You know what? Check yourself.
Hear more from Michael K. weekdays at 1 on 880 ESPN.
Suck it up and like it.
The ESPN New York app and your smart speakers.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.